So, give me some tools that you're planning to implement. Anybody? Yes.
Our operations manual.
Right, okay, you sounded really exasperated when you said that. Operations manual.
Yeah, and I've given ourselves a target of 10 years.
Think we can take that down any?
Yeah.
Well, really, Holly, what's really going to happen?
Right, so the three that I put down is role profiles 1 month,
Yeah.
learning individual learning plans, skill matrix. I've done 3 members of staff for the next 3 members of staff per week for the next month until I'm done.
Okay.
And procedures
So that's
manual
doing
for 4
it,
months.
sitting down and scoping the skills matrix and
then doing it
learning
weekly.
plan off their scoring, and you've had this already, haven't you? Would you mind?
We've done.
We've done them, but we haven't done them to the quality and standard that I would prefer.
Okay.
And
We've
there are
done them to
some.
my quality and standard.
That's fair enough. It's
Yeah.
understanding where you
A bit
are.
like
and-
John's.
And we haven't done it with every single member of staff.
Right,
So I want
okay.
to like bottom it out and be like they've all been done.
But
they've all
you
been done
guys
the same
did.
one.
You guys did bravely do it with a member of staff who'd been there 10 years. And you had a bit of a good instinct that things weren't quite right, but you took some responsibility from that just to give a bit of an overview, because you felt like you'd jump them in it a little bit.
We did. We had a situation that we got ourselves in terms of people, a person left who we'd earmarked for a role, and this other person felt sidelined a little bit. So we offered her the role of sales manager. She's a valuer. She started with us as an apprentice 10 years ago. Great girl, everything else, and of course she took the job. It's not been going right for 12 months. I've been on John's mastermind, and the mastermind meeting with the skill set, key perform, well,
The skills matrix.
The skills matrix was just like eye-opening. It was just the best meeting. Don't want him to get big-headed, but it was. So I knew straight away that there was a tool that I didn't know anything about that would benefit us. So we ran it by both sales members. So
Yes,
it
gotta
wasn't,
be
we
fair.
didn't, we got to
Yeah.
be fair. So we did the one first and then did the second one. And out of about 35 indicators, she marked herself as underperforming on 17.
After 10 years of service.
So we had the opportunity then of going, we agree. And she thought that the outcome of the meeting, the next meeting was going to be,
We're not right.
I'm sorry, we're just going to have to let you go. But of course that wasn't. What we did offer was support, training and development to ensure she could be the best sales manager there ever could be, or there would be in Wigan. But in the meantime, we think we should step back to step forward, and you could just feel the relief in the room. And now she's working out, she's not sales manager, but she's on a program to be sales manager, and that's all down to the skills matrix.
And that is a fabulous way in which to handle that, because if you know somebody's in a job role and they're just not quite ready for it, and I've made the mistake of promoting before somebody's ready for it. And when I say the mistake, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and everything points in the right direction, but actually it's just not right. And it's the worst thing in the world to have to say, it's not working out, because there's an ownership from you that you thought you identified something and actually you're not quite there yet. That though allowed you perfect scope to get an agreement that you're not quite right, we're fine with that and we're going to work on this.
And if we firmly of the opinion, Holly and I, if we hadn't addressed the situation and we hadn't got the tools to address the situation, that member of staff would have found another job somewhere else. And we'd have lost somebody that we've invested 10 years in. So it was a light bulb moment, that one.
Perfect, love it. Thank you for sharing, because I know it's sometimes difficult admitting where we made our mistakes. Anybody else? What are you going to introduce? What tools are you going to use, and when are you going to use them? Yes.
The customer service charter.
Brilliant.
I already know what I'm going to call it, just not sure what I'm going to put in it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And would there be scope to do that with your team,
Oh, I think it absolutely has to be done with the
Perfect.
team, otherwise they're not on board, and they're the ones that are going to have to, even more than me,
Yeah.
carry it out.
Yeah, I think with anything that you get your team involved in, be sure to have some clear expectations already, because otherwise it can be steered in a direction that you think, oh, that's not what I was hoping for. Know what you're hoping for and steer the team to be on board with your vision of what that looks like. I think that's perfect. Well done. What time frame?
Actually, I haven't written down time frame. I think... I reckon that's probably a 3-month project.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Anybody else? Tools? Yeah.
The skills matrix for me as well,
Perfect.
absolutely, and ILPs, and the reviews. We do have one-to-ones, but not often enough, not
Okay.
anywhere near
Not consistent.
regularly enough.
Mhm.
Ridiculous, actually.
Mhm.
So I thought we can get our skills matrix done within 6 weeks,
Perfect.
another couple of weeks to get the individual learning plans, and then I've written down 12 weeks, that's like from now, so kind of another 4 weeks after that, review it, and then as one-to-ones and keep going.
Brilliant.
Because I've got the actual role profiles and all of that's all done.
Perfect. So you've got the start up that
Yeah,
can
but-
slot in that.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that I'm not.
Good stuff. Sorry, you had your hand up earlier just before.
Yeah, so for me, the three things are the role profile, the skills matrix, and the learning plan.
Lovely.
Then they sort of fit quite
They
nicely
do.
into each
You
other. so-
flow lovely.
Yeah.
Kind of time frame are you giving yourself for that?
Well, we had a staff member give notice in yesterday, so I need to do a role profile for their new job, so that's going to make me do that quite quickly. So 15th of March for that. Skills matrix within a week of doing that, and the learning plans by the end of the month.
Once you've got your role profile, actually that's your content.
Correct.
All the skills matrix is a mechanism to measure that. So you're nearly there actually once you've done your role profile. Any of you guys over this side?
Much the same as what's just said, to be honest with you. Individual learning plan, skills matrix and role profiles.
Perfect.
Get done within the next few weeks, to be honest.
Yeah. Brilliant. Good.
I think it's a good pointed out to mention to the group why you mark it 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought that was really interesting as well. We use that measure for a lot of our KPIs. There's no 3.
Oh dear.
There's no middle.
All right.
So just,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone heard, Alan was said, why do you mark it 1, 2, 3, 4?
Sorry, John.
There's actually something called the Likert scale, L-I-K-E-R, which means don't have a middle ground. So if you're as a manager or you're asking somebody, what do you score yourself, 1 to 5, guess what the majority of people are going to pick? 3, because it's average. And people aren't above or below the average. So we pick 4. There's a good northern phrase, shit, I'll get off the pot. Either, find out where you are, you're a 2 or a 3, and that's what we do.
How's he still in business?
No idea.
It's not me charm and all that. Right, guys, just want to say thanks very much for that. Thanks, Adele. Useful? That's really interesting, isn't it? So these are the foundations, again, going back to the anthill, structure in your business, foundations in your business. Business is not complicated, people are complicated. And if you can put the foundations in place in your business to manage people, set expectations, and when they don't hit your expectations, manage them accordingly, it's so smooth. It's very, very easy. That doesn't take away from the fact that you will have to have uncomfortable conversations with those people, tell them that they haven't performed, showing them the evidence, but those conversations are so infinitely easier to have when you know you're in the right, you know you've got the evidence backed up, you've gone through it all in your head. If she says this, I'll say that. If he says this, then I'll say that. And you've covered every single angle and every single base. It's actually a very, very easy conversation to have. What do you think you have? Right, so you go back now, right, Monday, you start implementing everything, you've done it in 24 hours, boom. Tuesday, yeah, it's not as easy as that, by the way, but, wishful thinking and all that. Tuesday, you have your first one-to-one, or you have your first difficult conversation with a member of staff, and you follow exactly what Adele's talked about, and it doesn't go well for them, and it goes well for you. What do you think the vibrations and the reverberations around the rest of the company is going to be? Don't mess. From now on, this company has changed in a positive way. You're not going to be able to get away with all the little idiosyncrasies and what you were getting away with before. It sets the tone of the business. It sets the standard for the future, for things to come. So just by doing this to one staff member, the others will instantly lift the game. And do you know what, if they don't? Not a problem. Take them through the same process, manage them through the same process, and then they'll come to the realisation that they're not right for the business. But by doing this at the beginning, means that at the end, the one-to-ones, it's a nice conversation to have. You're rewarding them, you're recognising the efforts and the results they're getting, because you're getting the right people right from the beginning. All makes sense? Awesome. How to motivate staff. Not like that, for number one. So the price of demotivated staff. Who has had really demotivated staff? Because I know we certainly have. I think everybody who's ever employed anyone in the history of mankind, womankind, has had demotivated staff. And it is because of lack of structure that demotivates people. So if the opposite of demotivation is motivation and lack of structure, then it makes sense to actually put things into practice, and it's all about the structure. So poor culture, this for me is massive. So when Adele said before, is everybody a bit hot? Do you want the AC on a little bit?
Yeah.
You all right? Jack, can you do your job please, my friend? Thank you very much. So when Adele said before about how I get in on the branch managers for the second interview and only, that is exactly why I get involved in it. I don't ask a question about where they worked, I don't ask a question about anything. Do you know the types of questions I ask? How many kids you got? What football team you support? What do you like doing the weekends? I genuinely, it's true, isn't it? That's the questions I ask, because I want to make sure that they're a right fit for the company. Again, you're going to get the odd one who's absolute just ninja at being interviewed because of that much bloody practice, and they slip through the net and they're not the right fit for you. That's life. Sylvie, it's going to happen. But you're not going to get bitten as many times as what you would if you hadn't had these in place. But culture is incredibly important. There's a really, really good article, Harvard Business Review, some of you will have heard me talk about this before, in which they asked 10,000 American guys, employees, and they said, if we could give you one thing to make you better at your job, what would it be? Was it money? Was it more holidays? Was it better training? What was it? 65% said, give me better colleagues to work with. Just give me better people to be around. That was it. That to me screams culture. Culture is the most important thing in a business. We had a horrible situation when we first started, many years ago, where we had a very bitchy culture in our main office, in our Easington branch, where they were just snipping and behind people's backs. It was horrible. Telling tales to me, telling tales to Adele. It was horrible. And there was two of the older ladies who were the main culprits. So I just said, right, this is going to stop. And I got the pair of them in one day, and I said, you said this to me about her. You said this to me about her. Discuss. And the pair, genuinely, I did that. As you've probably found out, tact is not one of my strong points. It's got its place, And the pair of them went bright red, even through the fake tan. I could see they were going really red. And it was a bad fake tan at that. But it stamped it out straight away. In a 24-hour period, just by me, I didn't like having that conversation. I was peed off in the end. I had to have that conversation. I'd only been in business 3 or 4 years. I wasn't, what appears to be this confident bloke standing in front of you all. I did not want to have that conversation. But it was the risk of the culture getting rotten, and rotten's not strong enough word for the way we were headed. You have to absolutely just, pull up your big boy and girl pants and have those conversations with people to prevent your culture going down the pan. Lack of accountability. So again, when people aren't motivated, they don't do the things what they're meant to do. They don't follow the procedures. To be fair, it shouldn't take a lot of motivation to do your job and do it well. But in the real world, people do need to be motivated to do the job and do it well. But they don't follow the procedures, lack of accountability, lack of ownership. He said, that's his fault, that's her fault, she told me to do this, he told me to do that. You get all of that with an unmotivated workforce. Big one, poor customer service. How many of us have been on the wrong end of poor customer service, and it's predominantly been down to crap staff? If any of you have got Sky and you've got a phone up about to speak to them, it's an absolute nightmare. My partner works at a call centre, and she comes home and tells me some of the disciplinary things and why they've had to fire somebody, and screaming at old ladies down the phone, don't you effing phone me up and scream at me. And they're the customer, you work here, you shouldn't do that. But again, it just takes one incident to give a really, really bad sort of reputation, and it's reputational damage. You can spend 5, 10, 15, some of you guys, how long have you been in business, Alan?
35.
35 years. Takes one slip of judgment by somebody else, not even Alan or Holly, it's somebody else in the business that can absolutely ruin a business. Are your complaints? Again, who loves getting complaints? It's the worst part of any business, especially when you've got, I'm not going to go on a rant, but when you've got the property ombudsman and they've clearly side a lot with the tenants, we've got to be very careful about complaints. So why don't we just cut it off at the knees and let's not get any in the first place? Wouldn't that be fantastic? So let's just give really good customer service. Let's have really good staff who are accountable, love the job, self-motivating, and guess what will happen? We won't get complaints. And there's a lot more pressure. So Adele mentioned it before, when you've got a poor motivated staff or you've got a staff member who's not performing, you take their job role off them, don't you? Give it here, I'll do it. More pressure on you. The whole point of being a business owner like you guys are, or a leader in your business, is to delegate, so you've got more time to do all the real cool stuff. If you want to go and acquire another business, do it. I love doing that. I love looking and talking to other business owners about acquiring their business. If you want to come up with a new strategy like we have with Rent to Own, or you want to grow it in another town, you can do that, but you can't do it when all you're dealing with is crap on a day-to-day basis, customer complaints. So the opposite of that, on the flip side, what a motivated team does is they go the extra mile. How many times do you hear people just saying, do you know what, I wasn't told to do it, I just went and did it, because I thought that's what we needed. That's the type of people you want in the business. We had Ashley, who was, you can sort of call her Adele's protege, a few years ago. There was an opportunity to get a stall in a local fete. She just went off and did it on her own, on a Saturday, on her own, promoting the company, didn't want any extra pay. That's the sort of thing you want in your business, because again, it's reputational promotion, not damage. So they go on the extra mile, they will get in there half an hour early, they will stay half an hour late, not to be a martyr, not to try and kiss up with Adele or anything like that, just because the job needed it, and that's what was needed to get the job done. Who thinks lettings in a estate agency is a 9-to-5 business? Good, because it's not. It's a business that takes as long as it takes to get the job done. The idea is for you not to be doing the job 24/7. That's why you've got staff to do it for you. Go the extra mile. Take ownership. Things will go wrong. You need people to put their hand up and say, do you know what, that was me, I'm sorry, this is what I'm going to do right, and it will never happen again. That's what I mean by ownership. Not just put your hand up and say, yeah, it was me, I screwed up, what are you going to do about it? That's not ownership. Ownership is owning the situation or finding the solution. We always call it PSP. You've got a problem, what's the solution, what's the benefit? Nobody will ever come to me and say, this doesn't work, because the first thing I'll say to them is, why doesn't it work, and what have you done about it? I hate it, detest it with a passion when people just complain about the problem. Tell me what you're going to do about it. So take ownership. Create Raven Fans. Has anybody read the book Raven Fans? Awesome book, brilliant book. So he says you don't want customers, you want Raven Fans. Does anybody hazard a guess at what the difference is between a fan and a customer? Yeah, so a customer is, so I'm down the pub, Tony, and I'll ask you, who's your managing agent? You say, some big Geordie lad up North East, I can't remember his name. Or I'll meet you in the pub next week, you say, do you know what, this lad up North East, JP from Casa, absolutely awesome. They're telling everybody about you. Create the Raven Fans. We do something called Random Acts of Kindness. Has anybody seen us post about this? What's it like? It's absolutely brilliant. So we give the branch managers a budget, 50 quid, is it 50 quid, something like that, 30 quid, and we say to them, you have to buy 5 or 6 bunches of flowers for people every single month, and you've got to get it out to the people, hand deliver it, whatever, in the flora. And the reason we do that is because, one, everybody likes bunches of flowers. Well, apart from one bloke who didn't particularly like it, but the majority of people like them. He complained about getting a bunch of flowers. But it's also a lasting impression as well. If you get a bottle of wine and chocolates, they might taste nice, but they're gone in 60 seconds. A bunch of flowers will last you a good week, 10 days. So when family and friends and neighbours are visiting, they say, who got you them? Oh, it was Castledine. Oh, what happened? Oh, the board company put a board on my house for sale when it was next door, as they meant to do. So every time there's a mistake, whether it's a genuine mistake on our behalf, whether it's a board contractor erected a board in the wrong house, whether it's they didn't get the result they wanted. We've done it when a vendor when the seller has pulled out of a sale, nothing to do with us, completely, out of our hands, but we've still sold we've still given the seller a bunch of flowers to say, really sorry for your house falling through, we'd love to sell it for you next time. It creates raving fans. So we call it random act of kindness. You might want to do it, 5, 6 bunches of flowers, 7, 8, 9 quid each. You'll get that a lot of level of engagement, especially from the local community. Your name will get out there. Noise complaints, again, we all love complaints, well, we actually hate complaints rather. It takes the pressure off you as well. And it can run the business without you. So this is the key thing to me, right? You can have the best systems and procedures on the planet, but if your staff are crap, it's going to go to shit. But if you've got the best staff in the world, and you've got no systems and procedures, guess what happens? Your staff write the systems and procedures, or they work it out themselves. No, I'm not saying they're going to come up with like learning objectives and ILPs and skills matrix and everything what Adele and I have come up with. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But if you've got good staff who are bought in with the values, they're motivated, they take ownership and they're accountable, they will find a way and they will jimmy a system to make it fit. So the people, again, it just promotes the fact that people are more important than systems. Don't get us wrong, it's not an absolute. It's not you either have systems or you have people. You have them both, surely. But if you've got the right people and the right systems, they will find a way. All make sense? Cool. And that leaves you to go relax a little bit somewhere. So, motivational theories. So we talked a bit before about how various theories, behavioural psychologists, psychiatrists, motivational theorists, over the last 100 years or whatever, have come up with their version of why we do what we do. Motivation. What motivates us? There's a load more than this. There's one called Mayo, there's Taylor, Hertzberg, he did one. There's loads of them. I've just picked probably the most famous top 3. Has anybody heard of Maslow? It's quite a famous one. Alderfer? McClelland? No.
Look at you there.
I'm feeling a little. To be fair, it's probably because you've all got lives.
That is true.
So it's a science and an art as well. So it's not an either or. Again, you can have all the theories in the world, but we all know they're called theories for a reason, because sometimes they don't work in practice. But we've actually put this in practice. I've read a ton of stuff on it, as you can imagine, researched it a lot, and it works. But you have to be quite pragmatic about it, and you've got to find your own way of implementing it in your business, these things. So, Maslow. I have not got a clue why it looks like Albert Einstein, but apparently that's Abraham Maslow. And what he spoke about was, it was a pyramid, and he said, you've got the physiological needs, and these are what really motivate us. And this is all about food, water, sleep, all that sort of stuff. We then got safety, because we want to feel safe and we want to feel secure, and that's what motivates us the second most, if you like. Love and belongings, and that's more of a tribal thing. We all want to belong to a tribe. That's why we have families, we have peer groups. As human beings, we want to put that sense of belongingness. Esteem, confidence, and then self-actualization. So the top one, self-actualization, does anyone hazard a guess what self-actualization means? It means basically being the best that you can be. So from a personal point of view, how good can I get at something? That's what it means. So this one is probably the most famous motivational theory that there's ever been. And the same with all theories, or the same with all sort of that type of ilk. There was the original one, and then the ones that came after sort of copied off them, and they put their little own spin on it. Alderfer's ERG theory, existence needs, so it was basic needs like physiological and safety needs. He said that's what the majority of people are motivated by. They need a roof over the head, food on the table, because without that, you're not motivated by anything. You need the basics in life. Relatedness needs, love, belonging, family, peers. Again, you want to be known that you're liked and you belong to some sort of a tribe or a gang or a friendship group. And growth needs, self-development, personal growth and advancement. So you can sort of see if self-actualization is being the best that you can be, personal growth and advancement, they're pretty much running parallel along each other. So what they are saying is the top level of what motivates us is growing as a person, growing as an individual. So that's 2 out of 3. So we go for 3 out of 3, see what the other one says. McClelland leads the, so he called it achievement. And it's the need to accomplish or demonstrate mastery. So the need to become better at something, to show everybody that you are better at something than what you used to be. Affiliation, again, there's a theme here. It's about love and belongingness. You've got to be part of a group. And power, need to control oneself over others. So what do they have in common?
It's about three levels really. Isn't it? Existence, relationships, and self-realisation.
Yeah, the last one is the key one for me. So the main thing that they've all got in common, yes, we've got family, friends, we get that, but we've got that at home in our personal lives. This is from a work context, so it's about the growth, isn't it? So Maslow calls it self-actualization, Alderfer was advancement, and McClelland was achievement. So those 3 words, when you look at them, pretty much mean the same thing. Successfully moving towards a goal. That is what motivates people. Getting up in the morning and having a purpose. Let's define a purpose. What is a purpose? A purpose is just knowing what you have to do today. Getting up with something to do, i.e. a goal. A goal could be just make it through the day. A goal could be I've got to get the footy training right. A goal could be I've got to dismiss this person at work, but it's goals nonetheless. So when you motivate staff, don't take my word for it. You know, some really clever guys, world, you know, the best in the world at what they do, theorists, say exactly the same thing. They say to motivate people, you need to set them goals. And it's true. The most motivated you have ever been, well, for me, it's when I've been to the gym, it's been when I've had something to train for. A rugby match, I'm trying to get back into martial arts or something like that. When it's a case of I'm just going for turning up sick, I'm not really that motivated. Do 5 reps and then I'm going home. I'm going to go past Pete's Hut, something like that. Right, pick a job role in your business. I want you to pick 3 short-term goals, any job role, 3 medium-term goals and 3 long-term goals. Now the definition of a short-term goal is from month to month. I'll give you an example. Could be that arrears are at £5,000 and you want to get to £4,000. It's quite an easy fix, it should only take a month. A medium one could be you want to increase your conversion of valuations from valuation to listing from say 40% to 50%. That might take a quarter. A long-term goal could be I want to pass my NFOP exam, I want to pass some sort of leadership exam, and that could be a year-long course or 18-month course. But the point is, you talk to your staff about these goals and you set the goals, and that's what keeps them on the path. So probably it's about, we'll do 7 minutes, 7-8 minutes, pick some goals. Is everybody clear about the short, medium and long term, the differences? A month, a quarter, and then up to a year, 18 months, that's what I would say.